Ladies and gents, welcome back to another video, and it's that time of the year again where we need to check in on the metaverses, check in on how they're doing. Spoiler, not great. It's actually pretty catastrophic, but hey ho, we kind of knew that was going to be the case, because let's be real, the writing was on the wall and it has come to fruition. So we're going to take a look at a few metaverses today, and we're going to see how far they've come in the last year of me not covering them. Spoiler alert, it's become one of the biggest industrial money pits that I think I've seen, not only in tech, but in general. The money that has been spent on these things by the companies making them and investors is unfathomable. So we're going to take a little bit of a dive in today, a little bit of a catch up, and just see how far they've come in the last year. So first of all, we're going to take a little check back in on VV and the VVverse. Now, for those who don't remember or just don't know in general, VV is a digital collectibles app that promised to have a metaverse where you can all hang out together, all go and do things, the metaverse, whatever that actually entails, showing off your collectibles, making other people jealous that you had the money to spend on that Batman that's low poly and just poorly modelled by a Fiverr artist, and they don't. Now, if you remember my last coverage of this, we covered their announcement of the VVverse, which was at like VVCon or whatever they called it, can't remember, wasn't important. Where the announcement of it was so poorly executed that they were filming the back of some random guy's head, and it was a mess. It was an absolute mess of an announcement. But then it got to the reveal of what the VVverse was actually going to be. And it turns out that, as many people had guessed, they would use a third-party existing thing, slap their own models into it, and call it a day. That's it. That's the VVverse. Well, they ended up going with a service called Cavernous, which is literally just, as I stated, a third-party existing thing that you slap your models in, and there are multiplayer lobbies that can hold up to a few concurrent players at once that can run around and talk in a connected voice chat. Basically, it's a crappy Minecraft lobby. Let's be real, that's what it is. And yes, the thing you're watching in the background right now is the video of exactly that. That is the VVverse. It looks terrible. Well, good news, everybody. As of last month, they actually released the VVverse. And oh boy, was it not any better. I have had so many people from the VV community tagging me, begging me to cover this, because of just how much of a disaster it is. It is somehow worse than what they showed off a year ago. So let's have a look at that, shall we? Let's see what the VVverse is looking like now. Like, genuinely, suspend all disbelief and imagine that you, for one moment, paid for this. What can you do here? Well, your friends can join your little plot of land that is not massive. It's actually really small. And they can look at the things that you've put in there and just go, wow, boy, do I wish that I had the money to spend on that like this person did. I'm just going to pause it there because I don't want to give any of you motion sickness. But this is essentially a very, very low-level game engine where you can just throw models in. But you can't throw any model in because that would be too much fun. Like Gary's mod or like VR chat, these things that already exist and allow you to do all these cool things for free. No, you are limited to a very select few models that they have chosen and partnered up with random comic books and that, most of which people don't actually care about, and license these models, but you have to pay for them, which is wild. It's like their entire business model was, let's take something that is already free and people have fun doing, let's hyper limit everything you can do in there, and then make the people pay out the nose in crypto for this nonsense. And then just poorly execute the idea altogether after that. That's essentially what this is. And like I say, the people who are users of VV and of the VVverse have been tagging me in masses on X about how just peed off everyone is about this. Like, they're even saying, like, we paid for this to be made, and it's just nothing that it was supposed to be. And I can't say I feel sorry for them, because everyone who's looked into this, objectively, from the outside, with, you know, a developer's insight has said this is going to be a mess. It will be. Like, the things they promised weren't doable, and they haven't done it. Wow, what a shocker. All right, let's be real for a second. My to-do list, out of control. Emails, Slack messages, calendar events. It's like a never-ending avalanche of tasks. And if you're anything like me, juggling it can feel impossible. But recently, I found something that helps. The sponsor of today's video, Akiflow. It's basically the productivity command center that I didn't know that I needed. It pulls in all the tasks from all the tools you already use, Gmail, Slack, Notion, you name it. It puts everything in one place so you don't need to be bouncing between apps trying to figure out what you should be working on at the moment. And the best part? Time blocking. Instead of a massive intimidating to-do list, I simply just drag my task into schedule and boom, I know what I'm working on, when I'm working on it, and where. But what really blew my mind is Akiflow's AI Copilot. It actually learns your habits and suggests the best time for you to schedule tasks that you need to do. It's like having your own personal assistant minus the small talk and awkwardness. Honestly, I've been using it now for about 2.5 weeks, and I used to spend the first hour and a half of my day going through all my different inboxes on all my different apps, trying to find out what's where on the calendar and figuring out what I should be doing, and by trying to be productive, wasting the first hour and a half of every day. Now I just open up Akiflow and boom, everything's just there, organized and prioritized, and it feels weirdly satisfying. Akiflow also offers a one-on-one meeting with a productivity coach that you can take in only 15 minutes to get you up and running with Akiflow. So if you've ever felt like your day-to-day tasks are running your life instead of, you know, the other way around, I really recommend that you give Akiflow a shot. Use the link in the description below and let me know what you think. A massive thank you to Akiflow for sponsoring today's video, and with that said, let's get back to it. But that's just one metaverse. They can't all be blundering, right? And just falling off a cliff face. Well, we're going to go to the biggest metaverse. The one that is apparently the game changer when it comes to metaverses. The one where everyone will be housed, fed, working, you know, working out of the Meta office all together. We're going to take a look at Meta's own metaverse, because after all, they did rename their company after the metaverse, so surely they've managed to get that under control, right? Well, once again, if you're anything like me, this is going to come as no surprise. I've seen a lot of articles coming out this year, especially in the last couple of months, about Meta, because Meta haven't just fumbled the bag, they've created an objective failure that nobody wants any part in. And this is because Meta's Metaverse division losses total almost $70 billion, not million, billion dollars. Now, the reason for this failure is sevenfold. There is not one reason of why this has failed. I believe there are absolutely countless reasons. Because every time I see a Metaverse shill explaining why the Metaverse is going to be the big thing of the future, they always point to the dumbest examples of a problem that was never a problem. It was invented so that a company could solve it by taking your money. And as we all know, that just doesn't jive with, you know, the regular folk. We don't all have a kink for spending money on something that just doesn't need to exist, let alone do anything to benefit you. Well, we're here, 2025, and people are still arguing that Meta Office is going to be the next big thing. We'll all be working from home from the Meta Office soon. And nobody can give a single good reason of why anyone would do that or want to do that, let alone why a company would shell out the money to buy everyone a VR headset to do that. They just objectively will not. Picture this. Everyone since COVID has been working from home, or anyone who could work remote has been working remote. For the most part, there are exceptions. But the Meta Bros want you to believe that soon we'll all be working around a virtual desk in a virtual office, passing virtual items around to each other. For what? Question mark? I don't know. But apparently that's what we're all going to be doing. And I've debated this with a few people, not to, you know, get everyone's hackles up or anything, just to genuinely try and understand where people are coming from with this. So you see these demos where, architects are dragging in a model that's, it appears out of thin air, and everyone's spinning the model and poking at it and saying, that doesn't look structurally sound. Or, could we change that glass to be a darker bit of glass? And everyone keeps saying, that's what it's going to be used for. It's going to be great. Cool. But as they've outlined in their process for uploading models into the metaverse, you need to model it in a format, or convert it to a format that Meta accepts to go into, Meta Horizons or Meta Office, then it needs to be approved, content approved, then you can use it. But if the model was already made in a typical modeling software to show off to your engineers, wouldn't it just be quicker to send them it and have them open it in the model viewer that has all the structural data and the architectural tools, rather than just view it in a spinning thing that you can go, ooh, enlarge, make smaller, prod, poke, ooh, make it vanish, throw it across the room. Who cares? It's one of them things where, is it a cool tech demo? Yeah, it's a cool tech demo. What purpose does it serve, and what solution is it solving? Because it has to serve a purpose or solve a problem to get people to even use the headset to look at it. Because the current workflow is somebody, let's say I'm an architectural designer in a team. I will be sent the model of the architectural project. I will open it up in one of the countless applications that allow me to look more in depth at things such as stress points, torsion areas, and resistance to earthquakes and stuff like that. And that's the stuff I'm going to be looking at and changing. And then I'm going to be rendering like fly-through video to send to the client for them to look at. Now imagine, instead, I go to the client and I say, right, do you have a VR headset? And the answer, 99 times out of 100, is going to be, no, I don't. Okay, cool. Well, there's a desktop client that you can get on that isn't VR. So you've already lost all the benefits of that demo because you can't touch and poke, even though there's no real reason to. You're just doing it for the sake of doing it. And instead now, you're just simply looking through a 2D screen at a 2D thing, a flat thing, the same way you would have, but with less information. It's just bewildering to me that there are so many arguments about what the metaverse will be, yet none of them solve any problems that exist. They all solve made-up problems that no one's ever had. And yet Meta are still pouring billions of dollars in per year, tens of billions. And they've now apparently got plans to ramp up the amount of money they're pouring into it. When I need to make it clear, the money they're getting back from the Meta Lab side of their company is nothing. I believe last year the data brought in something that it was like under $1 million. They made less than $1 million if you ignore the losses, right? We're just talking money in, not profit. And yet the people who are obsessing over metaverses don't actually have a way to articulate why they're obsessing over them other than, oh, it's the future. And they wonder why the companies are losing tens, hundreds of billions collectively. While Meta's metaverse may be the best and most complete metaverse, that's actually a terrifying sign because it's still an abject failure through and through. Like, the numbers speak for themselves. You go into Meta's metaverse and it is a ghost town. You catch 3 or 4 kids roaming around screeching. It's basically a school playground. There's nothing there of value. But the problem is Meta have rebranded their entire identity around this one thing that they're now trying to make their identity. And no one wants it. No one cares about it. No one's going to spend money in a bootleg version of Gary's Mod or Second Life or VR Chat. There's just no point. But we're now going to move on to the creme de la creme, the kind of icing on the cake, really, which is a metaverse that loads of people have been asking for a kind of check-in on from me. And honestly, there ain't much going on with it, but that is also a worthy point to throw in here with the topic of this video, and that is, of course, Earth 2. So, you'll all remember that back when I was talking about Earth 2 about 8-9 months ago, we were talking about the fact that E2v1 or Earth 2 version 1 will be releasing. And me and many other people had said that it's just going to be a walking simulator because there's no content that we can see that exists in the same world as the other content. It all seems to be independent demos. And at around that time, the demo for E2v1 had been consistently pushed back month after month, week after week, and it just kept getting pushed back. There was no actual deadline that was ever met. So the biggest criticism was, what is there actually to do in Earth 2 other than walk around? Because you've shown off animals, you've shown off weather, you've shown off, very light mini games where you can just shoot orbs that are floating around. You've shown off walking from tile to tile that people had to pay real money for to do nothing with. And I want to make it very clear that criticism did not age well for Earth 2, because they came out and defended it, and you're seeing on screen now, saying that Earth 2 definitely will not be a walking simulator when E2v1 launches. Well, E2v1 launched, and they were absolutely right. It was not a walking simulator. But this doesn't go in their favour, because there was no walking. Like, at all. There were no characters. You can't play as an avatar in this world and walk around like was showcased. What you can do is scroll around a globe, zoom in, zoom out, pan the camera around in a fashion that I can only describe as Google Earth, but without any of the things that you would want from Google Earth. As I say, everything was stripped. So when it came out, there's no characters, there's no animals, there's no weather systems, there's no hordes, you can't go around fighting things as a samurai. You can't use your skins that you purchased to use in E2v1 because there is no character to put said skin on. Also, that means it's not multiplayer. You are just looking around a globe solo. It's just Google Earth. That is it. And I find this so funny because when it was launched, they tried to encourage people who had access to it to go and stream it. And you've got these streams that have got about 15 to 20 viewers, which I'm not shaming them for the amount of viewers. It's just very telling of what's to come. So you had about 3 people at any given time streaming this. And all they were doing is taking requests from chat to go and look at a specific location of coordinates, which, God have mercy, they had to go and import from Google Earth. I shit you not. To go to a location and jump there, you had to import Google Earth coordinates. So what has to happen is you have to go to Google Earth, you have to look up the location you want, find the coordinates, copy them. You've already got all the information that you need to know about the place that you're looking at because you've just searched it on Google Earth. Then you dump the coordinates into E2v1, you pan there, it zooms you over there, and then you look at a less detailed, and by detailed, I'm not talking about, oh, there's no trees or anything. You look at a blank version of the city that you were looking at, and then the chat just go, wow, it looks just like Tokyo. Madness. Yes, the thing that is using satellite map data to procedurally generate a satellite map in 3D, the same way Google Earth does, funny enough, looks exactly like the satellite data of New York. But on top of it, you've got hilarious situations where structures that were built, big structures, are now represented in Earth 2 as rivers instead of the big buildings that they were, because they said Earth 2 is going to be a clean version of Earth 1. But then you look at these places, such as a place in Japan, where it's like this star-shaped fort, name of it will be on screen, and it's a beautiful place, by the way. Looking at it on Google Earth, it looks stunning, and there's some really cool travel videos of that place that I'd recommend looking at. But people were just absolutely dribbling, foaming from the mouth, at how beautiful it is in Earth 2. But what they didn't realise is that in the real world, it's a fort that is man-made. But now in Earth 2, it's just a big moat with grass everywhere. And they're like, wow, look at this naturally occurring star in the landscape. Isn't it gorgeous? So that's it. Like, these are all the things that have come out from metaverses. And I have to be honest, metaverses in general, as a whole, are just objective failures. And that is to ignore the fact that the CEO says it is not a walking simulator. There will be things to do. You'll be able to do some things. We want you to at least do something when it comes out, E2v1. And then there just being nothing, not even walking. There is nothing to do. But the one thing they did remember to do, and the only feature that is in there, is that you can spend money in E2v1 to buy more tiles, little plots of land that you can't build on or do anything with, in E2v1. The same way, but less convenient, than you could do on the 2D website. So I just do not know when this madness will end. I really don't. And it seems like the general metaverse community are now wavering and starting to completely lose hope in it, as many people from many projects, you know, that they've invested in, got involved in, purchased things in, are all now coming out and basically just saying that the concept of a metaverse is just a giant grift. And it's kind of sad because I don't want to say I told you so, but anytime I've covered anything blockchain or metaverse related, I've clearly stated that it's just a giant grift. It's promised the world deliver nothing with every single one of them. But yeah, ladies and gents, that is my yearly check-in on the state of the metaverse, and I don't think it's going too well. But hey-ho, if we give it another year, I'm sure it will mature and everything will be fixed. As always, a massive thank you for watching, a huge thank you to my patrons, you guys absolutely rule, and until next time, take care.